The social aspect of who am I? What crowd do I fit in? It's kind of like High School Musical, but more intense.
Higher stakes High School Musical.
Higher stakes High School Musical.
That's a short synopsis. What is Mistborn like? Imagine like a high stakes High School Musical, but with magic. And no music.
A little different.
All right, welcome back to another episode of David and Gabby's Book Club. I'm David. This is my beautiful wife, Gabby.
Hey, everyone.
And this is just a podcast where we hang out, talk about books and book-related topics. So what are we talking about today?
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about Mistborn. We're going to be reviewing it spoiler-free, giving you our thoughts, our review, talking about who we think this book could be for. And then at the end, we're going to have some spoiler talk, which should be really fun if you've read it.
Yep. We will have like a clear distinction of like, hey, this is where we're having spoilers. Mm-hmm. If you don't want spoilers, stop listening. So not at this point. Don't stop listening right now.
Yeah.
We're going to do spoiler-free first. So
absolutely. I say absolutely a lot.
I mean, that's fine. Funny enough, at Chick-fil-A, you're allowed to say absolutely instead of my pleasure. Did you know that? You have like three or four. I know this because I was a manager at Chick-fil-A, but technically, like according to the manual, you have to just say something other than you're welcome. It has to be something just more enthusiastic.
Okay.
So it could be, yeah, it's my pleasure, or it's like, absolutely, of course, stuff like that. So I actually used absolutely a lot at Chick-fil-A because I was like, not going to always say you should get tired of saying my pleasure all the time, right?
That makes sense.
So sometimes I was like, yeah, absolutely, of course.
Okay, anyways, let's get into it. Let's get into Mistborn. Let's do a short synopsis of it. I feel like you should start because you're really good at summarizing.
It was funny, we were getting ready for this stuff. She's like, I don't know how to talk about it without spoilers. It's like, it's like you're talking to someone and you're recommending the book. To me, it was just like comes naturally.
Yeah, he was like, duh. And I was like, yeah.
It wasn't that blunt, but yeah, I was like, you just do it. I don't know.
Anyways, yeah, you go for it. So short synopsis. How would you describe this book to somebody?
Oh, this is our first book into Brandon Sanderson. First off, we've never read Brandon Sanderson. We never even heard of him really until this past year, and we've been interested. So we started reading Mistborn.
Yep.
Apparently on his website, he suggests Mistborn.
That's a good starting point.
Yeah, he suggests Mistborn
if you like fantasy.
As a good starting point into his world, because he has a lot of it's called the Cosmere, similar to like the MCU. If you watch a lot of movies, they're all individual stories and trilogies and sagas, but they're all in the same universe and kind of travel between these different planets. I don't know how. I haven't gotten to that point. We just read the first book of Mistborn. So we're one book into this. So we're not experts. So don't just take that with a grain of salt. Of salt.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, this one is you're following a girl named Vin. Well, you're technically following two people.
Well, you actually end up following a fair amount of people.
Yeah, there's following a fair amount of people. But the two main people, you've got Kelsier, and then you have a girl named Vin. And they're in this world where, first off, the world's kind of like off balance or something.
Yeah.
The sun is red. All the vegetation and everything is all brown and dead. But it still grows, I guess.
It's not green, though.
Yeah, it's not green. It used to be green, but it's not anymore.
Ash falls.
Yeah, ash falls from the sky regularly, and every night there's a mist, like a magical, mysterious mist.
That comes up. It's like denser than a fog.
Yeah. More
consistent than any other like weather pattern.
Yeah, that you'd see. Yeah, so the world is weird, if that makes sense.
Something's off about it.
Yeah, something is off about it. And you've obviously got magic. And so Vin she's, I think, 17. Is that right?
I think
around that age, 17-ish. And she is a thief, and she's a ska. So what a ska is, it's essentially they're slaves. As far as I know, there's an emperor.
There's like two different groups of people. You have like the nobles, and they have more privileges, and then you have the ska, and they're more oppressed. And
they're treated like garbage, like they're like objects.
Yeah.
To society to be used by the noblemen and discarded by the noblemen.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're enslaved essentially, and the noblemen are, well, you said it best. They have more privileges. They're not free. They have more privileges. And the Lord Ruler is like this god, essentially.
He doesn't die.
Yeah, he's
very powerful.
He's immortal. He's crazy powerful. And
he's not nice.
Yeah, he's not nice. So they're oppressed. And it's a classic. Kelsier's a ska, Vin's a ska, and they find Vin because she's kind of special.
Yeah, and she has special magic powers.
Yeah, she has, like, there's magic, and then she has, like, a special kind of magic, if that makes sense. Of course, what main character doesn't have a little bit more specialness to them? So Vin has a special kind of magic.
Kelsier's teaching her. She's kind of an apprentice to him.
So Kelsier finds Vin because she has this special magic, and she kind of teaches him. And the magic system, I thought, was really good in this. I don't think it's a spoiler to talk about the magic system at all.
I don't think so.
It's based off of metals.
Yeah.
So you have there's like 8 common types of metal and then 10 total types of metal. 8 common, 2 uncommon, and each metal gives you like a different ability, if that makes sense. And everyone has like one metal that they have magic. It's called allomancy.
Is the magic system.
Is what it's called.
Yeah.
And so and it's genetic. So you're either born with allomancy or you're not. Right. And if you're born with allomancy, you usually are like one metal
you can
use. You can do one. So,
but you don't have access to all of them.
Yeah, you don't have access to all of them. You just have one. And so you learn. It's kind of cool, like how many different with the different metals are different abilities. So that's kind of like the magic system.
Well, I think it's interesting that you liked the magic system because I didn't mind the magic system, but it's a very detailed magic system. And so I just don't have the patience.
Yeah. It was a little weird at the beginning because you're literally consuming. You consume the metal. Like you have to swallow it and then use it, which I thought was weird. But that's
not it's very detailed and specific. And I felt like a lot of this book was you learning the magic system while the characters learned the magic system.
Yeah.
And at times I was like, all right, oh my goodness, this magic system.
Need like a chart cheat sheet thing.
Yeah.
Which it gives you at the end of the book, at the back of the book, if you didn't know.
So at times I found myself like speed reading through explanations of the magic system.
That's
I was
funny.
Like, I'll figure it out.
Of course.
Which I think that goes along with our personalities. You like details.
Well, I at first I thought it was weird because you're eating metals, which I just was like, this is weird. Which is
like, you shouldn't do that in real life. You shouldn't just eat metal.
Yeah, you shouldn't eat metals. That's not good. If there's anything you learned from this episode, don't eat metals. But the more the more I thought about this book for this review, I'm just like, this is just very unique. You can't accuse him of copying anyone, if that makes like he obviously takes inspiration from other things. Like you have the like standard tropes of
like
fantasy.
The tyrant king.
Yeah, there's tyrant king.
Oppressed people.
Oppressed people. The main characters, that one of the oppressed, and you're trying to take down the big guy. Like that's obviously a big thing everywhere.
Yeah.
So, but in terms of the type of world and this magic system, I've never experienced anything like it, and I thought was really good.
Was really good.
Yeah, and that's essentially a good synopsis. It's like you've got metal magic. They're ska slaves trying to take down the Lord Ruler. That's the general
synopsis of what the book is.
Synopsis, yeah.
Yeah. I thought that it was a book that I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't one that I couldn't put down, you know?
Yeah.
It was kind of it's the beginning.
It's a slow burn.
Yeah. It's the beginning of a world, so you definitely have to get world building. Like by the end, I was like, okay, I want to know what's happening next. But at the beginning, I was like, all right, I need to get into it.
Yeah. That's another thing I thought was really good because we'll get to ratings later, but I was thinking of a rating and I was like, well, if it was a standalone book, I'd give it not an amazing rating, but it does a really good job of like I really want to know more about this world.
Right.
It sets up a series really well, in my opinion. But as a standalone book, it's just like, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like it's not a bad book, but I wouldn't like
rave about it.
I wouldn't rave about it. But after reading it, the horizon looks like something I'm excited for and something I could rave about, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is weird because like not all books do that.
Right. I'm more excited about what comes next.
Yeah.
Than I was about this particular book. It felt like a story that needed to be told and world building that needed to happen, but it just wasn't.
It's almost like I just thought of this, but it's almost like oh wow, what is it? A prequel.
Oh, yes.
It almost seems like a prequel, but it's not a prequel. It's the first book.
It's the first book.
So.
Yeah, that's interesting. You're right.
I didn't think about that until just now. What I think about is like you're in like a closed off, curtains are shut room, and you're like, this is pretty cool. This is nice. But then at the end of the book, they open up the curtains, and you're just like, oh wow,
look at all the possibilities.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to know more.
Yeah, it's just like you're in the room, and you're like, this is a nice room. I kind of want to go home now. And then you open the curtain at the end, and you're just like, no, I'll stay. I'll stay. This is nice.
Yeah, it was one of those that if I didn't have the habit of reading, I don't know that I would have finished it. But because I had the habit of reading, I finished it. And at the end of the book, I was like, I finished it at like 3 a.m. when I was awake with my baby. And 3 a.m. Gabby makes interesting choices.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about this.
And so, like, I finished it on Kindle, and it was like, all right, you can buy the next one for this amount of money. I was like, yeah, that'll fit into the budget. Bye. And then
I'm out at this point.
David
there's no discussion.
Yeah, no. And then it was like, oh, and you can get the audiobook for like this discounted price. So I was like, that's a great price. Bye. And so like immediately wanted to start the next book, which doesn't always happen. So especially for how the beginning of the book went, I thought that the ending was great.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was really good. Yeah, another thing we forgot was kind of like the setting of the world. Not just like the world is broken, but also one thing I forgot is kind of like the time.
Oh, okay.
It's not Earth, so it's not like this is way in the future, way in the past. It's its own world, but I would say it's you described it as Victorian. Is that right?
Yeah, there are carriages.
I have no idea what Victorian is. I'm not a history guy.
Like the Victorian, like when Queen Victoria was ruler in England.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess there are carriages. It seems
there's like carriages. And for weapons they have swords, arrows, and spears. So it's not like high technology at all. I thought of The Witcher. If you've ever played The Witcher 3.
No, I haven't.
Like a video game. No, I'm not asking you.
Oh, okay.
I know you haven't. Like if you've ever like played The Witcher, that kind of world is like it's swords, sword fighting, arrows, spears. You ride horses.
Yeah, so maybe like medieval. I don't know. Just not a current.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. Current.
It seems very civilized. There's a city with blocks and like.
Yeah,
impressive structures,
there's
plantations.
Like, and you've got like large dresses, and you go to balls.
And you have like noblemen. So that's why I think Victorian.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I have no idea what you say Victorian, and I don't see anything.
Well, now I don't know if what I'm saying is right, but that's what I think.
I mean, I know Victorian is a thing.
Okay.
That is, you're not wrong in that sense. Like Victorian is a thing. I just don't know what Victorian is.
Yeah. So, and it's a time period that I thought it was interesting. David was like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, it's weird because it's hard for me to get into that setting, that time. I don't know why. Because it's not the first book that's kind of set into that I just didn't. It was hard for me to get into.
That's fair. I don't think that it's what I gravitate towards either.
Yeah.
At the end, it was good, but it took a minute to get into. But I thought that he did a great job building the characters. You get to know a lot of characters in this book.
There's a large cast of characters, and they're all very unique. It's a large variety of characters as well. Like, I don't think there is two characters that are exactly the same, and you have a lot of them. So it could be a plus or minus. It's kind of hard to keep track of them all.
I don't know, like the main, the core group of people, like
Yeah, you really connected a lot more, I think, with the cast than I did. I was mainly just the main people.
I finished the book first, and so David's telling me all of these events, and I'm like, oh, Breeze. Oh, Ham. All of these characters. Yeah, I think he did a good job distinguishing each of them and it's using them to tell the story. From different points of view.
Yeah, and it's a fun cast of characters, I would say. They're not too serious. Like, Brandon Sanderson wasn't too serious when writing these characters. He had some fun. You can tell. But it's weird because it's not... He has fun in terms of it's almost like has that feel of a kid's book in terms of the fun characters. But at the same time... this is not a kid's book.
No, definitely not a kid's book.
It's definitely got, there's no like sexual content to worry, like not on screen at least. There's like off-screen stuff.
I think just the
PG-13.
The ska are treated very poorly, and he at times describes that pretty descriptively, like just how their lives aren't valued. Yeah, I'd say. Yeah, and
how they're treated. That would. So it's definitely not a kid's book, but some aspects of it, like the cast of characters, almost has that feel of.
Yeah, I was going to say, makes sense. Like sometimes it was bizarre how some scenes in this book, you're like, whoa, what did you just, wow. You just described what? That's heavy.
Yeah, it's intense. There's a lot of stuff that's...
And then like, the next scene, you're like, haha, that's great. You're so funny.
Yeah.
Which I think I really like that in a book. I need breaks from intense moments, and I thought that this had a good...
It hits a wide spectrum of like intense, gory, dark, but also spends a lot of time on the lighthearted, funny, fun. This end almost feels like kid book material, but then this end is like
definitely adult.
Like young adult.
Bizarre, but it worked.
Yeah. Very unique.
I also just really appreciated that there were balls and like a love interest, and I didn't expect that from this, and I really liked that. I liked that there were balls, and like Vin's kind of finding herself, and how she feels about dresses and like baths and all of these things. I'm like, oh, this is so fun.
Yeah.
What did you think about that part?
I was like, eh.
Yeah, I wondered if you'd be eh. It felt like a...
Well, it was interesting because like things happen there, and it's not just drama that happens at the balls either. It's actually like, oh like, wait, what's happening?
Like political stuff's going on.
What did you say is going on? Like it's still engaging, in terms of it adds to the story,
right?
And what they're trying to accomplish.
Which made me... I thought that this book was written well for both men and women.
Yeah.
Because of those things, like the really intense moments, but then the more laid back fun moments, and one of the main characters is a girl.
Yeah.
Written from like a guy wrote it, but I don't know. I saw elements of this book that I thought, wow, this is like a guy's book. And then elements of this book I was like, yeah, this is like a girl's book. Yeah. So I liked that. I liked that about this book. Going back to the magic and the fight scenes with the magic is what gets me.
I did experience that. Like some of it was like just hard to follow because so much is he's trying to describe a lot of things. And sometimes he just says like she burned, or they burned
this metal.
And I was like, what does that metal do again?
Yeah, it almost felt like a little bit like you're in a class and you've learned about a subject, but you now have to apply what you've learned from that subject. And I'm like, I'm not ready to apply what I've learned.
I was not prepared for this exam.
Yeah, I'm not prepared for this exam is kind of what it felt like in some of the fight scenes. And so they were very detailed, and some of it went above my head. I understood like the gist of it.
Yeah.
But the fight scenes I didn't feel as engaged with. But I think that's typical for me with fight scenes. If they're detailed, I usually speed read.
For me, I do agree with that. But another part that I had struggle with is I think some of because there's so many characters, some things just happened too fast, which I'll talk more about in the spoilers, specifics.
Okay.
But I think just some things were just like, wait, it wasn't built up enough before things happened. And it happened like with multiple characters, if that makes sense. It's like I just didn't feel the impact that maybe I should have. But if he took like 2 or 3 books to build that up, then I probably would have felt it more.
Yeah.
That was just that was like kind of the only thing that I kind of thought that I was like, some things felt rushed.
Yeah.
Everything else, it's like, it was great. It was solid.
Yeah, I didn't get the rushed feeling.
Yeah.
But I did get the, wow, this is detailed.
Yeah, which part of that could be because just the way I read it, we've been very busy the past few weeks, and I just had not a lot of time to read it. So it was just like reading while I'm watching the kids, like listening to it on my audiobook while I'm changing my kid's boopy diaper, like type thing. And so maybe that is why it felt rushed, because I didn't have time to just sit down and just be immersed into the world.
Is definitely how you prefer to read.
I prefer to have just quiet. Let's give me a few hours and I'm gonna be gone.
So who do you think that this book would be for?
Oh man, because on one end I'm like, it's kind of an easy read, but on the other end it's like it's pretty slow. So it's, in that sense, it's not super easy. A super easy read.
I think that you definitely have to be in the mood to learn a new world.
Yeah, you have a lot to learn. I
think that there's a lot of books in this world, so you could spend a long time here, I think.
Yeah.
But you have to you have to want to finish the book.
Yeah.
It can't just be
That's true.
It's not a palate cleanser kind of book. It's okay, I'm ready for my next series. This is going to be it. Yeah. I think that has to be kind of the mood that you're in.
Yeah, which I don't think you have to commit to the whole Cosmere.
No.
Like, I think, obviously we haven't experienced it, but I'm assuming after the trilogy is done that it'd be similar to Red Rising in the sense of like, yeah, there's more, but you could be done. Like it's resolved, hopefully.
Yeah, within 3 books you could find a stopping point.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing. We haven't read all 3 of them, so we don't know. Oh. We have started the second one, so if you're wanting to join, just keep going with it with us. But
yeah, I think it's kind of a fun, like if you have a significant other, like a good couple book.
Yeah, because it could appeal to
guys and girls.
Yeah. As long as you're okay with the violent gore. Like not a whole lot happens on screen in terms of that, but it's kind of dark in that sense. So it's not for the faint of, but
yeah, you have to be aware of it.
Yeah, you just have to be aware of it. It's not, they don't dwell on these things a whole lot.
Yeah.
So it's not, but it's there.
That's good to say.
What about a rating? Like if you had to give it a rating?
Oh, I was going to say, back to who it's for.
Oh.
This book reminds me a lot of Throne of Glass.
Ooh. Yeah.
A lot of, it's definitely different, but it has a lot of similarities. So if you really enjoyed the Throne of Glass books, I think that this would be a good series for you to go.
That's actually what I was thinking about in terms of like the Victorian era type thing that I just couldn't get into. Yeah. Like I had the same thing with this.
Because like I was reading it and you were like, oh, maybe I'll try reading it. And you're like, nah, that's not for me.
I just couldn't get into it. I don't know.
That's fine.
Maybe I didn't get enough of a shot, but yeah. It was hard for me to get into it. And I think I didn't think about it until like reading Mistborn. Maybe it was just the setting of that Victorian style.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just not harder for me to get into that kind of world.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now, are you ready for ratings?
Now I'm ready for ratings. Yes, thank you for asking.
So, what would you give the book?
I think 3.75 out of 5.
Whoa, I thought we were only doing half points.
I never said that. You said, can I do half points? And I said, yeah.
I said, are we doing half points?
I said, are we doing half points? Yeah. Yeah, you can do half points. You didn't ask about quarter points.
All right. I guess we're doing quarter points. This is out of 5 stars. It is out of 5, right?
Yeah. I think 5.
So that's interesting, because then I think I would go with 3.75 as well.
What did you initially
Huh?
What did you initially have?
I was initially, I couldn't decide between 3.5 or 4. Like, I kept going back and forth. Because
Okay, we need to get our baby. Pause.
all right, pause. All right, we're back. Baby's been fed. We've got some lunch, got more coffee, and we're good to go. But anyways, I was talking about my rating of Mistborn when we were. I mean, it hasn't been a break for you guys, but it was a break for us. So I was between 3.5 and 4. I couldn't decide, because in my mind, when I was thinking, because I was thinking half points, I wasn't thinking quarter points. I was thinking like 4 would be a book that's like, I would read this again. Like, I'd totally read this again.
Yeah.
And then a 4.5 is like me raving, like, I need to read it again, like, soon, or I'm like hooked on a series, something like that. Is what I would think of 4.5, and then 5 would be like perfect. I have nothing wrong with it. But then 3.5 would be like, it's pretty good. I don't foresee myself reading it again anytime soon, but it was a solid book. I'm glad I read it. It's kind of what I was thinking in my mind. And I think that's how I feel about Mistborn. But at the same time, like I said earlier, the book might be like a 3.5, but at the end of the series, I might feel differently at the end of the trilogy, because the whole trilogy might be a solid, like, it seems like the potential of the series would be a solid 4 or 4.5, if that makes sense. And because it's helped me anticipate that, I don't know if I can give it a 3.5 for that.
I think that you have to rate it based on where you're at right now.
Yeah. So
like,
maybe,
you can always change your rating.
Well, that's why I'm saying like maybe 3.75, because I didn't know that was an option when I was thinking at first. So
I didn't ask. I just did it.
Well, story of our marriage. No, I'm joking. I'm just kidding.
Not true.
I'm just joking. Oh, man.
Yeah, I did 3.75 stars. I think that I would only probably recommend books to other people if it hits 3.5 or above.
Yeah.
Maybe the occasional 3.
Yeah, that's a good, like, 3.5 is like, I'm not craving another read of it, but I'd still recommend it. It's still solid.
Yeah. I think that it was maybe not the most ideal timing wise for the slow build in our life.
Yeah.
Like, we were just like extra busy.
Yeah. Like, if I was on a vacation and like all the time to read.
On a vacation, or if like we were in a regular rhythm.
Yeah.
With what we're like, our rhythms in life have just changed recently.
Yeah.
And so not only have we been really busy, but what we have been doing has just been a new rhythm with going back to work and stuff. And so I have just been I've had less mental capacity to devote to the book, which I also think is why it landed in the 3s and not the 4s.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the ending of the book, which is why I gave it more than a 3.5.
Yeah.
It made me want to read the next book.
Yeah, well, that's why I was like struggling between the 3.5 and 4, because I felt like the book was 3.5, but at the same time, it made me like, I want to read the rest of it and figure out more about the world and what's going on. Yeah. I just feel weird giving it a quarter.
Well, you don't have to.
3.75.
I'm going to do it.
I'm doing 3.75. We're just going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to be those people that give quarter stars.
I just think that it fits the best.
Yeah.
And I think you think the same, which is why you changed your rating.
Yeah. Yep.
What were you initially going to go with, though? 3.5 or 4?
I initially went 3.5,
Okay.
Like I have it written here, 3-5.
And then you crossed it out.
Well, yeah, but I went and started writing about the spoiler stuff and the surprises and all of that. And after just diving into all the spoiler topics, what I liked, what I didn't like, I was like, no, this is a solid book. There's a lot of good things about it. And so then I came back and I crossed out the 3.5 and wrote 4.
I think that you just have to go with your gut when you give a rating. So I think the 3.5.
You had issues. You had issues of that when I did that with the Harry Potter rankings, but now it's not an issue. Me just going with my gut.
So you were just wrong. So I think your gut was just wrong. That was the issue I had.
All right, she has a problem with my gut.
That sounds so weird. Okay, yep. So
all right, this is the official spoiler warning. Going forward, there will be spoilers for the first Mistborn book. So if you have not read it yet and you want to read it and you don't want to, or if you just
don't care about spoilers.
Yeah, if you don't care about spoilers, then it doesn't matter. But if you do care about spoilers and you're planning to read this book, we recommend it. It's solid. It seems exciting, an exciting entry into a series that's going to be solid. So if you don't want spoilers, leave now. Or forever hold your peace. All right, things we liked about the book.
I kind of already mentioned it, but the characters.
Yeah. That's definitely a positive. Like, I don't know if anyone would like all the characters, but you have to appreciate the variety of characters.
Yes. Okay, who were your top 3 characters?
Top 3 characters?
Yeah.
Even though I don't think Marsh was in it a ton. Oh. But I really enjoy, like, at least at the end, when he comes back as an Inquisitor, you're just like, what? And it's just like, let's go. Like, let's go, Marsh. Him and Kelsier's relationship, I thought was very... It's hard to describe, obviously, because it's like they love each other. They have feelings for each other. But they're brothers. Love each other. Like, they love each other. They love each other, but they don't like they're not crazy about each other.
Well, it's one of those things that, like, you don't get to choose your family.
Yeah.
Right?
But at the same time, they both have the same goal of taking down the final empire.
Now, but I think that a big part of their rift is that wasn't always Kelsier's goal.
Oh, yeah.
And so Marsh is like, what you're saying sounds good, but...
Oh, yeah.
Right? And they're kind of crossed in their timeline because Marsh used to be gung-ho about it, and then things just got him down.
I really appreciated his character a lot. I liked it a lot. And is it Sazed? Is that how it's pronounced? Sazed?
Yes.
I loved him.
I know.
It was so good. It's just like, well, let me think about this.
He's like the best know-it-all character I've ever met.
Oh, yeah. And,
he's the most likable, know-it-all character ever.
And the whole, like, intricacies of being a terraceman and stuff. Like, that whole history. Like, that is...
I want to know more.
Yeah, I would almost read... If he wrote, like, a prequel series or something about, like, the terracemen before...
Well, I think that the rest... I'm hoping that he gets into the rest of the history of the terracemen.
In the Well of Ascension?
In the next couple books, yeah.
Yeah, because that would make sense because
he just drops a little bit at a time.
Yeah, well, yeah, I would agree. And it seems like the main conflict is going to be the darkness. I'm not as far into the Well of Ascension. I'm like 10%, and I'm like through 6 or 7 chapters of the Well of Ascension. You're a lot farther than I am into it because you finished the Mistborn first. But yeah, I'm excited to learn more about the terracemen. And I wouldn't, like, a book would be interesting about before, like, during that time of like the journals and the journals are writing. So like right before, what's his name? Elendil or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Elendil is the Lord of the Rings. I don't think it's that. It might be Elendil. I don't know.
With an A, not an E.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't remember the name.
Okay.
But that guy who was thought to be the Lord Ruler, but not the Lord Ruler because he was killed. Well, maybe he was killed because the 3rd book's called The Hero of Ages. And that guy was supposed to be the Hero of Ages. So maybe he's not dead.
Who knows?
Maybe he's not dead. That's the theory. But yeah, I would say those two are probably my favorite characters. Marsh and Sazed.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. It's just so hard to choose my favorite characters. I'm going to say Vin.
Yeah.
I don't want to say Vin because she's like the main character. And so I feel like you can't choose the main character.
It's like a
I don't know why. Yeah, but I really like her. I like her journey and just how she grows and how she's like almost like a scared bunny. You know, like just like
she has a lot of baggage to work through.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
And just her finding the crew and just learning to trust.
Yeah.
Is kind of is huge. Yeah. Also, I found her relationship with her brother fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
I just think that there has to be more to his story, right? Like he was there and protected
like abusive,
her.
Though.
Right. He's like abusive to her, but then also saved her.
Just thought of this theory.
Huh.
What if he knew that she was like special in Mistborn because the Inquisitors were after her and he was trying to get her to snap?
But I think that she snapped whenever her mom, that whole incident with her mom and her baby sister happened.
Well, like her, what is it, Reen? Was that his name?
I think so.
I don't think he might not have known that she snapped.
But the Inquisitors wouldn't have been after her unless she was a Mistborn. I think that he knew she was a Mistborn.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think he knew that she was Mistborn or special, but hadn't snapped yet. So that's why he was abusive.
Oh, maybe.
That's that literally just popped in my head. So it's like, ooh, what if this?
Yeah, I don't know.
That would be nice to learn more about that.
And I was also really glad that he didn't just abandon her.
Oh, yeah. That he was captured.
The end of his story was sad because he was captured and like tortured and killed.
Yeah.
But that he died protecting his little sister.
Yeah.
That was definitely like a better situation because in her story, like everybody leaves her. Yeah. Right. And so.
Reen didn't leave her.
Reen didn't leave her. Reen was kind of mean to her. Was really mean to her. I don't know. And then I think I also really like Sazed.
Yeah. Sazed's awesome, I think.
Yeah.
He's a know-it-all because he literally knows it all. But he's not.
Like he's know-it-all ever.
Yeah, he's very humble and gracious about it. And he's just a very gracious person, too.
And he's so devoted.
Yeah. I think.
And I love, he like low-key just goes and saves her from the Inquisitors.
Oh, yeah, that was awesome. It was like
there's no hope. She's totally gone. Enter Sazed. Whoa.
Yeah.
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah. She was like, what are you doing? I love that line. I was like, what are you doing? You came after me? Like, surely you knew that you were going to be captured. He's like, of course. How else was I supposed to be brought to you?
Well, the first time that he saved her from the Inquisitors.
That was mind-blowing.
Like when you didn't know about him.
Yeah, you were like, wait, what happened? How? Excuse me?
Yeah, I know. I was like, whoa, Sazed. Whoa.
Yeah, I had no idea. But I loved it when he came and saved her again in the prison. It's like, surely you knew that you would have been captured if you came after me. It was like, of course. How else would I have been brought to you? What? I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's just like, look at this. I just thought of, what's his name? Avatar, the King Boomy. When he takes off his cloak and he's just like, like that's what I thought. That's what I was like imagining Sazed doing when he like was like, let's get out of here.
I also really like Ham.
Oh yeah.
I like Ham because he just like is over here questioning everything. Like, what did he say about money? What is money but the abstract concept of the physical representation of your effort or something? Yeah. And then he's
Philosopher Ham.
Yeah, Philosopher Ham. And then he's like, is it wrong that we take down the Lord Ruler? I don't know. I mean, he's a bad guy, but is it wrong? And just all of these things. I feel like I appreciate that character and his relationship with Breeze, who's just like,
you're an idiot.
I've had enough of you before you've even begun to talk.
Breeze was like the smart one, right?
Breeze was kind of he was the soother.
Yeah, but he was really smart, wasn't he?
I wouldn't.
Or he might have been like
might have been really
the classiest, quote unquote.
I kind of viewed him as like kind of stuck up.
Yeah, that might have been it. That might have been it. For me, it was really hard to distinguish. Again, it was probably because of how I read it. In terms of like we were just busy the past few weeks, and so I was trying to like fly through it in time to film this, and so I think I just missed a lot of those characters, specifically like Breeze, Dachshund, Ham, Clubs, Spook.
Oh, Spook.
They all kind of like meshed together. Like I can distinguish each of them, but like
they're not who you think of. They're just the crew.
It's just the crew. Yeah, it's hard to distinguish each one from just the crew. For me, again, I don't know if that was as much the writing as it was the way I read it.
Well, and it didn't spend a whole lot of time on
each
them.
They were all together the whole time. Anytime you met any of them, they were together, not individual. You got to know a little bit when like Breeze individually trained Vin, and then Ham individually trained Vin. So you learn a little from them that way. And did Spook ever train her, or did he just give her that tip of like silencing everything around?
Yeah, I think that was his
the
training.
Extent. Yeah,
that's all he got to. But I mean, like Ham didn't get to like really super train her either.
Yeah,
because that's when
they were like,
army.
Hey, we're going to attack them. And he was like,
okay, what?
Yeah,
that wasn't supposed to happen.
I'll be there.
Be right back. Yeah. What other things did you like?
I already mentioned this, but I loved the magic system. I thought it was super unique. One of the other things I liked was the little short synopsis at the beginning of each chapter.
Oh yeah.
Like a lot of times when books do that, they attribute to the chapter, if that makes sense, but they don't necessarily. You could almost skip them because it's just a random.
It doesn't really add anything.
Yeah, it might add a little bit of background information.
Yeah, a lot of times in books I don't.
A lot of times it's not significant. I still read them because I like them, but this one you need. It's part of the book.
Yeah, it's the logbook.
Yeah, which when you find that out, because at first I thought it was Kelsier.
Oh yeah.
Like Kelsier talking, and he's like the chosen one. Apparently, is supposed to save the people in the final empire.
Yeah.
But then after a while, I was like, wait, I don't know if it is Kelsier. And then they were like, they found the logbook, and I was like, this is the Lord Ruler. Like,
yeah.
What? Which ended up not being the Lord Ruler.
Yeah. Whoa.
Which is another thing to talk about. Like, wait, what?
Mind blown.
Yeah. But yeah, I really liked those, how he did that. There's just so many things in this book that it's like, I'm not raving about the short synopsises at the beginning, but all of these small little things is why I went back to put it up to 4. I was like, he does what a lot of other authors do, but he did it just really, like, he did it really well. And he did some things in a way that I've just never seen before. Like those short synopsises, they had purpose. It was part of the book, and you almost need it would almost be worth going back and reading just the synopsises just to get that whole puzzle again pieced together. And it's just like, that's brilliant. Like I haven't read a ton of fantasy books, so there could be others that are like that. But for me, that was the first. Like that was
really good. That
was really good.
I really liked how he built stuff up.
Expand on that.
Yeah. Then, as you go through her story, you get little hints and foreshadowings that something about her is like super special. I still don't think that's fully expounded upon, but you just see little hints of...
She can see through copper clouds.
Yeah, she can see through copper clouds. She
might have pulled power from the mist.
She masters all of these elements really fast.
Yeah.
It has a very intuitive nature about using the elements, which is very rare.
Yeah.
She's a powerful allomancer.
Yeah.
And at first I thought that was going to be her heritage, but I mean, her dad was important, but
he wasn't a powerful allomancer.
He wasn't like the most powerful of all allomancers. That's what I thought.
He was just not.
I thought that her dad might be the Lord Ruler.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I thought it was going, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
That's just one of the things. I feel like another thing that he's just giving you little bits about that you just want to really know more about at the end is the whole Terraceman prophecy. What went on with the Lord Ruler? Like, something went down. Why is all this mist here? Like, you start to ask more questions about, okay, what exactly is happening in this world?
Yeah. How all this happened came to be, which I think...
Right.
Which... It is cool knowing already what the second book's called, because they just like the whole mystery around what happened at the Well of Ascension.
Yeah.
Was talked about a lot. And then like the second book is like the Well of Ascension. You're like, let's go. And then the last one being called the Hero of Ages, because you don't know what happened to that guy.
Yeah.
Like, whatever his name was, we forgot.
I like the balls.
Yeah.
I think I already mentioned that.
Yeah, you already mentioned it.
But if we're going to talk about like what we like at the balls, what's the gal's name who ended up being Mistborn that was just being a jerk?
Oh, Shan.
Oh, Shan.
I remember she had already finished the book, and I had gotten to that point where Shan was like going to try to kill Ellen, and she was a Mistborn, and Gabby was like, "Where are you at?" I was like, "Shan's a Mistborn, that little witch." And then I texted her like 10 minutes later. I was like, "Correction, Shan was a Mistborn."
Oh, but she was just such a jerk.
Yeah.
I felt like the whole ball experience was almost like trying to navigate high school. Like the social aspect of, all right, who am I? And like what crowd do I fit in? And it was kind of like High School Musical, but more intense.
Higher stakes High School Musical.
Higher stakes High School Musical.
With magic.
With magic.
That's our short synopsis. What is Mistborn like? Imagine like a high stakes High School Musical, but with magic. And no music.
A little different, but that's what the balls reminded me of, just the politics of everything. I thought it helped you get to know the nobles really well, where I think that maybe you don't always get to know the higher social standing people in these kind of books, but it made you kind of empathize with them. Kelsier really doesn't like noble people.
Yeah.
Then starts out not liking them, but the more that she gets to know them, she's like, oh, but these are people too.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I wrote down is I love that theme of they're people too. And they're a part of this world too. Right. And because it's not the only series like that. Like coming to the realization of like, yes, they're above us in the hierarchy and the hierarchy is bad. We're trying to take it down, but they're people too. Right. And they're a part of this oppressive system too. And not all of them are evil. You know,
right,
it's like,
right. Just because,
it's kind of the like, I don't know. I had a racism and discrimination. Like it almost, it's hard. I don't know how to describe it, but like saving and helping the oppressed does not equal oppressing the people who haven't been oppressed, if that makes sense. Yeah, just because they're not in the same... It's not a zero-sum game. Like, if you take away from here, you have to... In order to give here, you have to take away from here. Like, everyone's equal and everyone can be good. Does that make sense? So, because it's not... There are other series that are like that. It's like, okay, you could either... There's two ways to do this. You could either completely, genocide... just kill all the noblemen and it's just Ska running everything and you might get to your goal, but at the same time it's like
they have things to add.
Not only that, but they're people too. Yeah. And they're not all evil.
Right. I mean, it wasn't their choice to be born a nobleman versus a Ska.
Yeah. So it's like,
yeah. They're before you judge someone, why don't you get to know them?
Because at that point it's like, are you any better? Right. In terms of that discrimination aspect to it. It's like you have the same prejudice that they have towards you. It's just in a different direction.
Right. So but
healing, having that and having that as like a
Not to, like, the
Epiphany.
noblemen were, like, rough on the ska.
yeah, and there are evil
Noblemen, right? But, I mean, at the same time, like, they're not great ska people, too.
Yeah.
Right?
But like having that be something that Kelsier has to
Work
learn
through.
and work through, I thought was really good. I like that whenever any series really,
Yeah.
kind of like the both ways of realizing like, wait, we have
More
prejudice as well towards them that we need to work on. It's just not as oppressive
for them.
for them.
Which, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why. It just like makes me like,
Do you have any other?
people are people.
Do you have any other points that you just really liked?
Yeah, specifically like the whole Ellen, not necessarily like the love interest, but like just Ellen as a character of like him being a good nobleman,
Yeah.
and Kelsier having to realize like, no, this guy is genuinely a good dude, and he cares about people.
Yeah.
So
His dad's a jerk, but
yeah, his
like,
dad's a jerk.
he's decent.
Yeah. The other thing I had down that I liked was just, I think just the story in general and how it's like unconventional in the way that he is approaching this trilogy and series. Because usually a trilogy would be about taking down the final empire, taking down the Lord Ruler.
Oh, yeah.
And the climax of the last book would be facing him because he is like, so he's almost unstoppable. And when you have that kind of enemy, it's like over the whole 3 books and then you face him at the end. But he just like, the whole thing is just the start of this series, which I thought was really interesting. And he did a good job of it. Like it was, if you say that, it's like, okay, that's a little weird. I don't know. I don't know how I'd feel about that, but it's good. He did it really well.
Now you have to address what happens after you take down.
Yeah. Well, no.
whole
Well, not
system.
only that, but he raised so many questions of, okay, when he died, he was like, you don't understand all the things that I do
Yeah.
to help to keep this world safe. And now you're like, well, what does he do to keep what is he talking about? You know?
Yeah.
So now it's not just what do we do after, but this is a theory, but like I don't think the whole darkness thing was resolved.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Like, so they have to resolve it. And then I think he mentioned like in the journal entries, it was like talking about creatures in the mist or something. And so I don't know.
Like, what's going to
So
happen
like, yeah, it's a lot of, it opens up the can of worms of like the empire kind of was keeping the lid on this evil thing that was threatening the world. Now that lid's gone. What's in that jar?
Or I almost think that, like, was it keeping a lid on it? Because the world's messed up still.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, the Lord Ruler said that he was the one, like, stopping this. And maybe he was to a certain extent. But I almost feel like because it ended up being Rashik and not the one guy. And he obviously took things from, like, the wrong motivation.
Yeah.
Was his solution? It's hard to explain what I'm thinking. Like duct tape.
It was
like duct tape holding up a car window.
He put a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah, a Band-Aid on it.
There were still residual effects.
Right, and it didn't actually solve the problem.
Yeah, because it's still just bottled up the evil instead of
right. It might not be as apparent, but yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I don't think the Lord Ruler was as effective as the Lord Ruler thought he was, is my theory. That I'm guessing things are going to get worse because of that comment.
Yeah.
But I think that they're going to find that.
I think it's the darkness. The darkness is coming back.
Well, I don't think the darkness ever left. I think I think the darkness was just contained.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like he kept a lid on it instead of discarding or exterminating this problem. He just put a lid on it and trapped it, and now the lid's off, and now it's like, hey, I was never actually dealt with.
I would like to join the party.
Yeah. So, I'm here. Hello. How you guys been doing? I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
me
excited
too.
to see. It has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, with Brandon Sanderson's reputation, I think he meets that potential. Mm-hmm. So what about things you didn't like?
So I already kind of hit on it. The detail of the magic system.
Yeah.
I'm torn because the more I thought about it, he introduces the magic system well with Kelsier. And then he helps you get to know it a little bit more with her going to each individual crew member.
I thought he did that really well. Of like, she gets individual training about each one to get it explained for the reader.
Right. Well, and maybe it's just I don't love these scenes in any book because I have other books that I can think of that I'm like, all these details in the battle, whatever. It's just hard for me to visualize. And so the amount of detail of the magic that he goes into with all of the fight scenes, I think that's what I don't like about the magic.
Mm. Yeah, because there's a lot of things happening at once.
When he's like, and so I dropped a coin and I jumped off of it, but then also like I'm throwing a coin over here so that all of this, and I'm like, why can't you just say I jumped and then move to the side? I think I'm becoming more used to it, and it's becoming easier to read as I go into the Well of Ascension, but the detail of magic in fights is almost like a textbook.
Yeah. I would agree. I would agree with that.
Magic system.
I can see that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that I don't like that.
Yeah. That is, especially listening to the audiobook, the first time where Kelsier raided like the first castle or whatever for the ATM, for like a little supply of ATM. Mm-hmm. And then he intentionally was seen so that they would think that another nobleman is attacking them. Mm-hmm. I listened to that on the audiobook while I was driving. If you didn't catch that on the microphone, our baby here just let one loose. So, but I was listening to it while driving, and it definitely was like, I don't know what's going on. I know he's fighting. It's like he's fighting through a castle. All right, that's what I got from it. And he got a little chest of ATM. All right, I'm good. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
So it was definitely hard listening to the audiobook on those points. So I definitely see that.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest issue that I had with it. That, and just, I don't know that I really have a gripe about it. It's a world building book for, I'd say, a solid 60 to 70% of it. Yeah. And so it kind of feels like the story really begins at the last half, if not the last quarter of the book.
2 or 3 because there's 5 sections, I think. And I think he's looking at Gabby like, what? Anyways, I would say it gets intense and starts in the 4th section. Yeah,
I think once the army decides to go rogue,
that's where it starts. Yeah,
that's really when I feel like that's when I started to become more engaged.
Yeah,
and really, like, if you think about it, so Vin's been learning all of this stuff, and she goes to learn with Ham, and she kind of learns with Ham, but like after that is when the story really picks up. And so I feel like that's the point where he's like, okay, I've given you a solid foundation in Alamancy and about what all is going on politically. Yeah. Like, let's just move this forward. Yeah.
I mean, there's just a lot to Alamancy.
There is.
I think, and just the world in general. Because like, that's not the only magic system. Because now you've got to learn, what is it, Freud? Freudemy?
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that, so I'm not even going to try.
Freudemy? I don't know. Is the Terraceman's magic. Like, you have to learn that. That was another thing, is when she defeated the Lord Ruler, and they're explaining like how he used Freudemy and alchemy together, or Alamancy together. It was just that. I was like, say that again? Like, how did that work? Yeah. Like, I just didn't fully understand. I still don't fully understand.
Well, and he even kind of broke it down because he was like, this is what happened. And then one of the characters is like, what? And then he's like, basically, you just need to know that this happened. And I was like, thank you for realizing that that's where I'm at.
It was so funny. Just like, they're not going to understand it, so I'm just going to break it down to the simplest terms, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that's all I needed to know, and that's all I needed.
I think we'll learn. I think we'll learn more about it in Well of Ascension. I'm assuming learning more about the Terracemen and like their magic.
I'm guessing.
Which that makes sense because if he had to explain both systems fully for us to fully understand them, that would be intense.
Too much.
That would be too much. Yeah. Yeah. The one thing I had was, which I mentioned earlier. I'll go more into detail. I just thought there were so many characters, and you go through the whole storyline of it so fast because you're taking what
could have been multiple books.
What could have been a trilogy in itself, taking on the Final Empire, you're doing in one book as like a starter for your series.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think, so the two things that I was specifically is one, Marsh's death. When they found the body.
Yeah.
I felt it because it was Kelsier's brother. Uh-huh. But in terms of just Marsh, you didn't have a whole lot of time to get to know Marsh, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
To really feel that hit home, you know? Mm-hmm. You just felt it for Kelsier. If it was a trilogy, he probably could have built that up more. Mm-hmm. So that when it does hit, that could hit so hard. Because Marsh is just the solid character.
Kind of hit almost, I mean, not the same as Kelsier, but...
Yeah.
And it's like when Kelsier went, it's like, is he coming back? Is this like a Disney moment?
Yeah. She does come back, technically. Kind of. Not really.
Yeah. Liam's just trying to kick the microphone.
Yeah. I don't know if that's going to make a boom, boom, boom.
I'm trying. He's just really intent on it.
Yeah.
Watch this. Look at this.
It's like, man, come here. You look like you need a kick. So that one, I think, felt a little rushed. And I use the term it wasn't earned, wasn't fully earned.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense. He didn't fully earn my
sympathy.
Heart. Like, I still felt for him. But it was more feeling for Kelsier than it was me personally being really sad about what happened to Marsh.
That's fair.
If that makes sense. Just because it wasn't enough time to build up my feelings for Marsh.
I almost feel like Marsh is a C character.
Yeah, yeah. And then the other one was Ellen's, and his relationship with Vin. That happened so fast.
Yeah.
It was way fast. And then not just his relationship, him falling in love with him, but like falling in love with her to the point of like running into the middle of the battle with an Inquisitor.
Oh, yeah.
To be like, where is she? Like, that happened fast. Like, you know what I mean? That almost felt unearned as well. So that part of him, and also him turning and helping the Ska and being like, no, noblemen are bad. Like, what we've been doing is wrong. How we've been treating them is wrong. Which, that one I give a little bit more leeway to, because he's already, like, even the first time you meet him, he's already on that trajectory, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So it's not like he was over here and you see the whole journey of him getting here. Mm-hmm. He was already on that path before you met him. Right. So that one I give a little bit more of a pass to, but that could have hit more if that had happened in like a second or a third book. Mm-hmm. But with him squeezing in the standard trope of a trilogy into one book, it was needed.
Yeah.
And yeah. So that one I give a little bit more of a pass to, because he was already on that trajectory when you met him. So he could have always been on that trajectory for a long time. He had already been meeting with those guys. He's been reading banned books, stuff like that. So
yeah, I also think that how the rebellion resolved itself felt very rushed to me. Because most of the book has been building up this rebellion to take the Lord Ruler down. Yeah. And then the end of the book is focused on taking down the Lord Ruler, and then the next time you see the rebellion, it's resolved. And you have a king. It's like, I feel like I missed that.
Yeah, I see that. I also think it just happened really fast, because it's like they had one plan, didn't work out, and immediately went into the second plan, that didn't work out, and immediately went into the third plan, which is like, let's just go right after the guy, the Lord Ruler. Let's just do it. Mm-hmm. It did happen fast, but
I mean, you like hear a little bit about what's going on, and then after the fact, you're like, oh, Lynn's like gave this speech apparently, and everybody like started to follow him,
Yeah.
or whatever, and like you kind of hear from Ben's perspective when she's fighting the Lord Ruler, this like large applause or something, I think, in the middle of it, but you're never in that moment with the rebellion.
Yeah, which I mean, I
guess.
think it was intentional. Like the climax was the Lord Ruler, because you're in Vin the whole time.
I don't know. I disagree a little bit. I think the climax was the rebellion and the Lord Ruler, because you've built the rebellion up so much.
Yeah.
It just felt like the rebellion resolution happened too off screen for my liking. I think he did a good job with everything else he was doing with the book, and the fact that all of this was resolved within a book. Mm-hmm. But that is one thing that I thought was a little rushed, because it was just one book, was just how the rebellion was like in the span of what it felt like 2 chapters. Yeah, the Scar are all going to organize and raid the Lord Ruler, and actually we all survived, and we really like this Lind guy, so now he's in charge. Cool. You know, like,
sounds good.
You know, like you see from a distance that they're organizing. You hear from like the top of a tower that there's something going on. Yeah. And then you hear after the fact about them listening to a speech. And it's like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know. Was there anything else you didn't like?
No, those were the big things.
Yeah, those are my 2 things. But overall, I think it was solid. Like, I think he did a great, for having that unconventional, like, I'm going to fit this whole trilogy trope thing into one book so that we can move on and go to the next thing. Yeah. I think he did a really good job.
Oh, definitely.
Really, really good job. And I'm looking forward to the next ones. Mm-hmm. But
yeah. So what, did anything really surprise you? Do you have any theories that you haven't talked about yet?
Yeah, we kind of talked about a lot of them.
I know.
Talked about the intros to the chapters. The fact that Rashik.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was that the Lord Ruler was Rashik and not
that
the
blew
other
my
guy.
mind.
Yeah, I was like,
because
what?
they did spend a lot of time on him in those little excerpts at the beginning of the chapters.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Yeah, he really did come in, didn't he?
Oh, the Rashik?
Yeah, I was starting to think throughout the book, like, wow, they're just spending a lot of time on this one Terraceman that didn't like the Hero of Ages guy. Yeah. But, I mean, there's a reason.
Yeah. That was crazy. Mm-hmm. That was wild.
I did guess that he was going to be, have both of the magic.
I thought the same thing when I was reading it, because he was talking about how the Terracemen hated him, that it wasn't going to be a Terraceman. And I was like, that's when I started like wondering, is he going to have Terraceman powers too? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then I didn't put together that that's how he would be immortal and how he would be so powerful. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I also thought it would be the actual guy, not Rashik. Mm-hmm. But I did guess that.
And then Marsh really surprised me. Marsh coming back at the end. Coming back
as an Inquisitor.
Because, I mean, you know, as Vin goes to, like, go into the palace, like, she's the main character. You already killed off Kelsey, or if you kill off Vin. Yeah. That just seems like a bad choice. So I'm fairly certain that Vin's going to survive and that she's going to be successful to take down the Lord Ruler. But this whole time, it's like, I have no idea how she's going to do it. And then all of the Inquisitors are in the room, and it's like, well, maybe he is going to kill her. Maybe. Yeah. And here comes Marsh.
Yeah, I was just like, that was wild.
What?
That was such a good twist at the end. I was like, man, the fact that, like, that was such a good, wait, this person didn't die, I'm bringing him back. Uh-huh. Without being cheesy about it. Yeah. It was so good.
That was really good.
And it was valid because you didn't, because it's gory, but because that body was skinned alive and the head was crushed. Yeah. You just assumed it was Marsh. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it very well could have been Marsh's body.
Yeah, I know that. I have so many questions about, like,
explain how,
what is an Inquisitor?
How in the world did he become one?
Yeah, they have like spikes through their eyes. It doesn't feel like they should be alive. Maybe they aren't.
They have 9 spikes throughout their whole body.
Yeah, that's just ow.
Yeah.
Ow. Like that's railway crazy. Spikes is what I'm imagining.
Yeah.
And it's like just ow.
And the fact that it's constantly painful. Mm-hmm. And just another thing that just why Marsh is one of my favorite characters is just like the dedication to that. It's like there's like you become an obligator. There's no coming back from that with the face tattoos. Like they're there for all the time.
Yeah.
Even after this is all done and you're not an obligator anymore, you're still gonna have those tattoos, and people are still gonna know that you were an obligator.
Yeah.
And then he goes even farther and becomes an inquisitor, and that's like even more dedication. It's like
Marsh is a dedicated fellow. All of these people really are.
You lose your sight. You have these spikes in your body for the rest, like the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Like even after if you win, like this is a one-way ticket.
Yeah.
And he was like,
here for it,
for the cause, like whatever it takes. I was like, man, what a guy.
What a guy, Marsh.
What a guy.
Well, and his brother like died to become the symbol, like Kelsier dying to become the symbol. It was brilliant. And like the whole book, you're like, what is Kelsier actually doing? Kelsier's not telling them everything. Multiple times he's like, there's always another secret. There's always another secret. It's like, hey, what's your secret, Kelsier? I did not see that coming.
At least he's honest with like, I'm not telling you everything.
Yeah.
You just got to deal with it.
Well, and also another quirk about Kelsier is just, he's always happy.
I'm lying to you. Isn't that great?
Yeah, all this bad stuff's happening, but silver lining. Yeah.
Man.
They can't take my smile. You tell him, Kelsier. I thought it was a solid read. I'm glad I read it.
Yeah, the more we talk about it and the more I like think and write stuff down about it and make notes, I'm just like, man, what a great book. What a solid first book. So
yeah, I'm excited. I think that the next books will be better.
Yeah.
I think so.
It's such a dense world. Like he doesn't tell you everything about the world, but you can tell it's a dense world that you're just excited to learn more about.
Yeah.
There's so much more to it. So.
Well, any other final thoughts? I think I've said everything.
I think I'm good.
You have any thoughts, Liam? No? Okay.
No. Yeah, if you want to join us for the next one, you can. We're currently reading The Well of Ascension.
Well of Ascension number 2.
Yep. Those episodes won't be out till March because we're batch shooting February's, but hopefully in March we'll talk about both The Well of Ascension and Hero of Ages. So if you want to read along with us, we'll have the books in the description below or the show notes wherever you're listening to. Those links do help us out. We get a kickback if you buy through them. Any of the links. You don't have to get Mistborn specifically, but if you're wanting to join us to read The Well of Ascension and Hero of Ages, feel free to do that. Support the channel. That'd be greatly appreciated. Yeah.
But I think that's all we have. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for sticking out till the end.
Oh,
We appreciate you.
Yeah.
And we'll see you in the next one.
We're going to get Liam whatever he needs. Whatever he needs. We'll see ya.
Okay, bye.